Hey, welcome everyone in this new video tutorial about the multiplayer combat editor. In this video we're going to learn how to create passive skills. So let's head to our content browser, third person blueprint, skills, let's right click, create a new blueprint class and look for passive skill. So it selects and we're going to call this BP underscore example passive skill. And this is just going to be, we're just going to learn how to set them up and in order for you to customize them. So let's open that up. Let's delete everything we have. I'm going to configure my hotkey because it's driving me crazy. Compile. I'm actually compiling using F1. I'm actually refreshing all nodes using F5. And I'm actually never opening up the documentation like this. All right, I'm going to hit compile. And then we are going to right click, hit setup, event setup, like this. And in there, we need to be calling create stat list and another one, which is setup passive effects, like that. So this is reminding you of what we are doing for active skills because it's looking the same. And we have to drag a wire out of that and type in store passive metrics, set passive skill metrics. So what is the name of that skill? Example passive, we do not care. The icon, same. Requirements, I don't want any. I can learn that skill without any requirements. We can give that a description if you want, like this. I hit compile, and then the important stuff. So that event is going to be called when the skill spawns, when the skill is actually initializing its effects. So it's automatically being called, and we need to tell the skill what are the passive gameplay effects it has. And in this video, we actually created a child class of passive skill, but you can call that event in any skill you create. I made it so every skills have the possibility to have passive effects. So, and you have to set them up the same way we are going to set up that event. You do not care about this for the other type of skills, but you care about that if you want to add passive effects to the other skills. But in this video, we are focusing on doing this in a passive skill. So you can drag a wire out of this and you can type in trigger modifier, like that. Or just right click and get passive, yeah. So we're just going to remove this. So this is a trigger modifier. This is giving us, the blue pin is actually a reference to an object called trigger modifier. And in our case, when we are in a passive skill, it's being called a passive effect. So this is basically a reference to a passive effect, and we can do a lot of things with that. You can drag a wire out of this and type in a sign, and there you have a huge list of things. So under the MCE folder, so these are all event dispatchers which trigger when specific events trigger. So for instance, action trigger is an event which triggers when the owner of the skill takes a specific action. You have all the combat triggers. So when you get killed, when you kill someone, when you get killed, when you get heal, when you apply a heal, when you apply a status, etc. You can react to all these events. You can react to the fact that the passive skill is being activated or deactivated or reset. or when a target comes nearby your the owner of the passive skill, or when a stat gets modified, for instance. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to quickly implement the stats, the action trigger update. Well, actually, no, the stat update. So we're just going to right click to drag a wire out of this, type in assign, and look for on stat update. Like this. So what is this doing? Our passive effects is binding itself to the stat manager of the guy of the actor owning the passive skill. So the actor owning the passive skill must have a stat manager for this to work. And whenever the stat manager is receiving updates, is modifying some of its stats, it's triggering that event, and we can act based on this. So you can just drag a wire out of this and type in stat threshold checker, like this. And it's bringing you a node which asks for what stat you are trying to monitor and in what percentage you are looking for. So in our case, it's saying, so this is triggering whenever the else stat is being modified and when its value is between 0 and 100%. But I could say, and we're just going to print hello if we receive that notification for now. We are actually going to do something a bit more funky. We are going to spawn emitter at location, for instance. We're going to say, hey, I want to spawn, if I'm not mistaken, I have something like a pyroblast hits. Where is it going to be located? It's going to be located at my user location. This is the guy owning the skill. What's the rotation? 0, 0, 0. The scale is going to be 2, for instance. And then we're going to say, hey, I want to find actors around me, for instance. So where is the sphere located? It's located where I am. What is the sphere radius? We're going to say 300. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, I'm going to make a bit mask there. And I'm going to say the bit mask is a skill target. And I'm going to say the target are enemy and neutral, for instance. I'm looking for infinite results, so I'm letting this to 0. And then I'm going to apply damage to them. I'm going to call apply damage. I'm going to say, hey, I'm applying, let's say, 10 damage. The source is myself, so the owner of that skill, so the user. The gameplay tag, I'm not going to specify any gameplay tag. I'm not going to specify any VSFX either. So we said, if someone learns the skill, example, passive skill, whenever its else gets modified between 0 and 100%, we are spawning an FX and we are dealing damage around us, like this. So we can just go back to our example, to our third person character, and we can say in its skills functions, we can learn a new skill, like that. And we are going to learn the skill we just created, example passive skill, like this. We're going to hit compile, hit save, hit play. And what's happening there? You know what's happening there. The else regeneration is proccing. It's the else regeneration is triggering, and it's trying to modify the else, and it's not triggering on clients because since I'm at my maximum else, it's not modifying the value which the client needs to see modified to see the event triggering. So it's a little bit complicated, but that's it. It's the event we plugged in here in our passive skill. That event is not triggering on the client because the else regeneration actually is not modifying the else since we are at our maximum else. But it's actually triggering on the server, and it's a bug. We should not be regenerating our else when we are at max else. And I know it's not really bugging. We are not getting we are not going over 100%. We are clamped to 100% else, but so it should not be calling that event even on the server. So it's going to be fixed after the early access. But in our case, it's not showcasing what I wanted. So I'm just going to show you. Oh, infinite loop detected. What did I do? Oh, of course. I said when the else gets modified, you get the else and you deal damage. So it's modifying the else. So the else gets modified, and we are modifying the else, etc., etc. So we cannot do this, but we can say something else. We can say, I'm just going to get rid of the events. We can assign something else. We can assign, for instance, we're going to dispatch the action trigger like this. And it's giving us this event. And we're going to switch to actually ask for an action. You can switch on the trigger. And you can switch on the action. But switching on the action gives you a node with all the actions you have, and maybe you don't want that. But this node actually gives us the possibility to react to these actions being taken by the owner of the skill. So for instance, I can say, if my owner is starting to jump, I'm not going to stat check now. If the owner of the skill is jumping, it's going to trigger a blast around him like this. Like this. And in our case, it's working on the client this time, because there are no odds and oddities with the regeneration system. And since whenever I press space, it's triggering the event, because we did not set up our jump action properly, our state machine properly, and it says I can jump. I'm not checking if I can jump when I'm pressing the input, and we're just going to see if we can fix this real quick in our third-person character. Where are we jumping? In there. Can I jump? Yes, I can. And we are also going to ask, am I falling? Like this. And am I not falling? Am I not falling? And we are also going to double check. I think jump should prevent jump as well, like this. So we're going to hit play, and now we can no longer trigger it a lot of time. So this was a bit long, just to show you how to quickly set up a passive skill, and we're going to review to see what are the other things you can do with passive skills in other videos. For now, you can consider that you can basically do anything an active skill does based on the events I show you. So it's going to wrap up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.